what I want to really focus on is that over the last 3 or 4 years, we've made this incredible move at the Museum of Modern Art. First, we built an entirely new building that opened in October of 2019. And the idea behind that building was to change the way people actually engaged with art, to create a kind of platform that brought art from different geographies, different moments in time, together in new and unexpected ways. And no sooner had we opened than the pandemic hit and we had to close in March of 2020. That meant that suddenly we lost 100% of our audience. So what did we do? We made a pivot to digital. We'd already been thinking about digital. We'd built a very robust platform, but we had never made digital our primary strategy. But the pandemic forced us to rethink how we were going to engage with our audiences, both locally in New York, but also globally around the world. We started with some strength. Over the previous 5 years, we had actually built almost 12 million social followers, probably the largest social following of any cultural institution in the world. And we saw in a matter of months that exploded to almost 14 million followers. So now we had a stream on social to work with, but we also had a very robust website that at the time probably had around 20 million followers. So our sort of base was over 30 million people that we needed to connect to and connect to in new and different ways. We realized that there was a hunger for people to talk to each other, to engage with each other, not simply to download information, but to actually participate in ongoing conversations. So the first thing we did was to create virtual views. Virtual Views is a platform on our website that allows our curators, educators, anyone else to come online and talk about a project, talk about an exhibition they're working on, talk about an exhibition that's actually taking place, to listen to the renowned American actress and thought leader Anna Deavere Smith meditate on Van Gogh's Starry Night, even read his letters. And it started to unite people around the world with each other. They could ask questions, they could participate in real time. And that was a kind of glue that began to knit this community together. We had always wanted to actually have a virtual cinema, to stream cinema from our robust collection. We have one of the largest film collections in the world. And while we do tremendous programs on site, we had long wanted to try and figure out how we could build our own streaming service. This moment allowed us to rapidly develop an on-site MoMA-driven stream that could plumb the richness of our own collection. Because of course, not only did our galleries go black, but our theaters went black. And so it took a couple of months to get this up and running. We had to clear rights. It was extremely complicated, but we now run a rich digital cinema that, after we reopened in August of 2020, parallels our own cinema program on site. And one of the key things that we're interested in as we build out our digital strategies is to recognize that digital and in real life work together. They are not separate programs. They actually are mutually reinforcing. So for instance, in addition to virtual cinema, virtual views, we built out an incredible program of online courses because we understood very quickly that what people wanted most was to learn, not only to enjoy, but to learn. So using the Coursera platform, which is an international platform, we had already developed something on the order of 1 million learners pre-pandemic. But we immediately started to adjust our programs, to add new programs in. And in a matter of months, we saw that million learners explode to over 1.5 million learners. And what that told us was that there was an incredible desire to learn about art. And the Coursera platform that we built actually allows people to not only engage with anyone at the museum who is leading a course, but also to engage with each other. And that notion of community is the glue that started to stitch together all of our digital initiatives. And the backbone of that is something on our website called Magazine. Magazine is a format. It existed before the pandemic, but we really turned our attention to building that out in a really robust way. Magazine provides access to virtual views, virtual cinema, podcasts, the whole array of offerings that we have online at the museum. The way in which this now works, because we have to remember that we had this 5-month moment from May until really the end of August when we were black on site, just literally locked doors. Then we started a gradual reopening at the end of August into September. And by now, over a year later, we're almost back to 50 or 60% of the on-site audience that we originally had. But in the interim, we have taken our global audience, reached through digital strategies, to almost 40 million people. So on-site this year, we'll have 1.5 million to 2 million people. Online, we're going to have, not just 10 times that, but 20 times that. So our audience now is a mix of global connections via social and the internet and on-site. And our interest is, how do you knit these communities together? How do you make these two work? And in an interesting way, NFTs provided a terrific model for us, because we understood very quickly that we were a content-rich institution that could look to NFTs not simply as a way of developing new revenue streams, but more importantly, connect into a community that was otherwise disengaged or even invisible to us. So we quickly decided to partner with Rafik Anadol, an artist who works with NFTs, who works with digital-based art making. And with Rafik, we gave him access to the full meta base of all of our works of art. Literally, every digital file we had about every work of art we had in the collection. And we invited him to make art with that. He built an artificial intelligence program that started to mine that data and created a whole series of new objects, new works of art, NFTs, that were the result of mining the metadata of our collection. And those went online and for sale through a platform called Feral File, which is an artist-centric platform in California. And the resulting NFTs sold out in a matter of seconds, literally. The actual auction took place over a couple of days because there were all sorts of different formats in which these NFTs could be bought. What interested us was not the NFTs per se. What interested us was the community of people who were actually engaged in buying NFTs. And our goal was to tap into that community, to start to build a relationship with those individuals that ultimately would migrate them from simply being interested in acquiring NFTs to actually wanting to engage on a sustained and ongoing basis with the Museum of Modern Art, because it is the network of communities that weave us together. I mean, here I think a lot of what El Cid was saying, when he goes into Cairo or someplace else to make his art, he's not actually only interested in the art that he's making. What he's really interested in is the relationship that he builds with the individuals in those communities. And through the ongoing dialogue he has with them, long after he's finished his art project, he's woven together a community of people who will forever remember their engagement with him and with the art he's made. Well, that's what we're trying to do in the digital sphere. We're trying to create opportunities for people to connect with us and then to weave them together constantly and over time into an ongoing community of individuals who see the Museum of Modern Art as both an intellectual home and an emotional home and a cultural sphere, a place in which they can engage, learn, and think. And the fact that we've been able to develop audiences in literally every corner of the world that far outnumber the scale of our audience at the museum suggests how impactful this is. But, and this is the real but, we don't see the digital as in any way an alternative to or replacing the experience of being at the museum. We see the two actually stitched together, that over time, the virtual and the real start to collapse into an ongoing loop in which people are either present at the museum and connecting to people through digital elsewhere in the world, or people are elsewhere in the world and connecting to people who are on site at the museum in this ongoing process of learning from each other, building relationships with each other, that our goal is that coming to the Museum of Modern Art or engaging with us online is a social experience. It's about interacting with other people around the subject of art, learning to think together, to feel together, to explore together, to recognize that there is a way in which culture is transacted that goes beyond borders, goes beyond boundaries, and brings people from around the world together in a series of shared experiences. And the fact that our digital programs exploded at the moment of the pandemic and then have continued to grow solidly thereafter suggests how meaningful this is for literally tens of millions of people. But there are also lessons to be learned here. And I want to bring my comments to a close thinking about what this last year and a half has taught us. I think the first thing is that we are never going back to whatever normal looked like. That idea is gone. That in fact, the new normal is all about contingency and flexibility. We can't predict what the new course of the virus is going to be any more than we can predict how people are going to want to interact with each other in 12 months or 5 years. So we have to learn as institutions to be in the space of contingency, in the space of flexibility. For small institutions, that may be easier than for large institutions, but large institutions that have hundreds of staff members and ongoing existing programs, the ability to turn on a dime, to engage quickly in new and different directions is going to be central to success. And we looked at our ability to partner with Feral File and Rafiq Anadol to generate our first set of NFTs together. We knew we couldn't do it on our own. We actually had to be in partnership, indicates how we are going to be working in the future, because we were able to turn that project around in a matter of 3 months. From the moment we started to think about how do we get in the NFT space to producing our first NFTs. And when we did that, we knew we didn't want to just make NFTs of works of art in our collection, the equivalent of a postcard. What we wanted to do was act creatively with artists to think about how we could enable them to do something they hadn't done before. So contingency, I think, is the first order of business for any of us in this space. I think the other is to recognize that the digital itself is an ongoing changing environment. So 3 years ago, Facebook was our fastest growing platform. Today, it's virtually flat as users have shifted to TikTok and any number of other new and emerging platforms. So you can't rely on a single platform for your digital strategy. You've got to actually look to build layer upon layer upon layer and to shift quickly when you do that. And I think the third point I want to make is that in the end, this collapsing between the virtual and the real has got to be our ambition. That we live in a world now where some people will only connect with us digitally, other people will only connect with us on site, and the vast majority of people are going to connect with us both on site and through digital, often at the same time. And that our digital strategy has to be the glue that weaves these different communities, these little micro communities, if you want to call them that, together into a single whole. We're excited. I think this is a thrilling moment to be experimenting, to be looking at new ways of taking the rich content and knowledge and ideas that are embedded in all of our cultural institutions and bringing them out into a new arena, into a public arena, not just to share them, but to learn from other people. And that's the beauty of so many of these digital platforms we've built. They are about participation. They are about hearing from, learning from, understanding from the tens of millions of people who are engaging with us around the world. And if we can bring them into a community with each other, where they are not just about MoMA, but with us, learning from each other and from us, then we build an environment that has tremendous sustainability and impact. So I salute all of you. I wish I was in Dubai. We have a couple of minutes. I don't know whether this format permits any questions, but I would be happy to answer them. If not, what I really want to say to all of you is it is cold here in New York. It is warm in Dubai. There is energy there. You are at the cusp of the future. And I look forward to being in Dubai again, to seeing friends, and to engaging, and to learning from you, and to hearing from you. So please contact me, email me, tell me what you're thinking. We are open to the kind of ongoing conversation that is at the heart of any cultural enterprise. Thank you.